Here with Miss Erica, and we are going to dive into it. Now, Erica, you don't know this. We just started this profitable pursuits, and when I was putting my wish list, you were at the top of my wish list.
Oh
And
my
I was
God.
so excited when you said yes. And the reason, why, is because I love how authentic you are. I love how bold and just this is my opinion, take it or leave it. And I just want more people to hear that.
Aw, thank you. What an amazing compliment. Well, I'm so happy to be here and I can't wait to chat it up.
Yeah. So why don't we dive in? Why don't we start with, can you tell us a little bit about you, your
Yes.
business journey, what got you to this super exciting place?
Yeah, sure. So I actually was an interior designer before I was a coach and an agency owner, which is what I do now. And I got here kind of accidentally. It happened when my husband and I, 5 years ago, thought we would be taking like a fun 6 month adventure to Mexico. And then when we were done, we'd come back to our lives in Los Angeles. Well, it's 5 years later and we never left. So we're still here in Mexico, which is just so crazy and fun. Sometimes I say that out loud and I'm like, wow, am I talking about me? Yeah, I am. So that's been super cool. And I just have always really loved business and brainstorming and ideas and mindset work too is something that I would say over the past 5 to 7 years I really got into. And so what I realized is that I wanted to put the interior design stuff aside and really work with women to help them build their business empires, I like to say. So that looks very different for all of us. And that's the cool thing about opportunities that we have now online. I'm sure you see that so much with your clients. But yeah, within the last year or so, we opened up the Icon Agency, which is something that I had not seen anyone do before. And the reason I put that together is at this point, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of women, help them build their businesses. And I love to problem solve. And I kept noticing things that were coming up again and again with our clients. And one of the biggest was we would have so much fun scheming, dreaming, planning together. And then I would send my client off to go execute and do the thing. And I think in this world that we're in with online business, there's so many choices. There's so many different ways to market yourself. There's so many different things you could be selling, but you can't just want to do it. You need email sequences, you need websites, you need sales pages, you need a lot of different stuff. And so what I was seeing is our clients were just constantly getting stuck in that execution phase. And so I thought to myself, how can I make it dead easy for my clients to implement all of these badass ideas that we're coming up with? What can I do to help them? And that's kind of where the idea of the agency came from. And so what we do at our agency, we call it a biz building agency or empire building agency. And the thing that we do different is we combine business strategy coaching, so what I was doing all along, with done for you services. And not just one kind of done for you service. It's really whatever you need in your business for that next big up level. So it's not just copywriting. It's not just social media. It's not just SEO. That's what we typically see when we see an agency, but we hook you up with whatever sort of expert you need in your business to go off and make millions of dollars. And then we manage and run these projects for you. So we basically tell you what you need to do to build all of these multi 6, 7 figure foundations in your business. And then we do it for you.
I, to this day, don't think anyone else does it. I haven't heard of this.
Yeah, I haven't heard anyone either. I mean, never say never, but
So if I was to summarize this new offer, tell me if this is correct. It's
yeah,
the coaching, it's the strategy in combination with project management
yep,
and the execution. So it's really a threefold.
yeah,
Fair?
yeah. And so by the time you're done working with us, you have the strategy, you have the mindset stuff. We have come up with really big ideas together, but you also have assets that you can use to execute all of this stuff. So it's not just ooh, here's some big ideas. Let me share them with you. Watch some videos, go off and figure it out yourself. You literally have the assets to use to execute all of the plans that we came up with together.
There's like so many ways I could like dive off this. One I want to hit because I don't want to lose. I love how if you follow your journey on Instagram, it's so aesthetic and it's like a very specific aesthetic. And I
Yeah.
think it ties in from you talked about how you used to be an interior designer, but let's be
Yep.
honest, you still are because you still have an Airbnb business. Like you just
Yeah.
completely brushed over your
Yeah.
aesthetic, like gorgeous home in LA, if I'm correct, right?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we
It's
have
been
our
in magazines and like, right?
yeah, best-selling design books, New York Times bestseller design books. So yeah, we do still have our home in Los Angeles. And I love whenever I get a chance to talk to people like you who are tuned into the money and happy to talk about the money, because this is a big piece of our business that I do often forget. We make a lot of money on our house in Los Angeles. We have our mortgage entirely paid for and make tens of thousands of dollars on top of that. So we have Airbnb guests building equity in our house for us, and we make money on top of it. It's like one of those situations that if someone came to me with this investment opportunity, I'd be like, you're trying to scam me, right? Like this can't be real. But it's just really worked out so amazingly well for us. And I think that's a combination of things like Los Angeles, people want to come all year. There's no seasons. Like a lot of things kind of worked in our favor. We happened to buy our house before the entire real estate market went so freaking crazy in Los Angeles that it's almost impossible to get into now for any of us like regular people. We just got lucky. And yeah, I designed our whole house. So it's super fun to have people come get really excited about it, stay there, send us messages about how cool they think it is. And it's amazing for us. It works so great with our lifestyle because we can basically block out time on the calendar. And when we want to go back to LA, we live here in Mexico full time, but when we want to go back to LA, we get to be in our house.
That's
So
so
it's super cool.
I love how you take like the aesthetic of the interior design world, you bring it into the Airbnb business, but you've brought it into, in my opinion, two more businesses. One, let's the Icon Agency. It is
Yeah.
while it's strategy, while it's like a done for you and like gives you the business coaching, we can't just like gloss over it. It's a very aesthetically pleasing business and very specific, but also like your personal brand. Like you have nailed aesthetics. Can you
Thank
talk a little
you.
bit about that? I think it's so much, at least from an outsider, it's so much a part of your story, and it's the fun part to watch. Like
Yeah.
it's
Thank you. I mean, it's interesting because I have always, before, I became an entrepreneur, I'm old. So even before I was an interior designer, I worked in marketing for many years. And so I really love marketing and branding, and all of that. And I think I love that you pointed that out. And that's such an incredible, meaningful compliment for me, actually, because some people might not notice it. It's not, aesthetics is not necessarily front and center for everyone. However, what I have found is that people in my world who I really connect with, people who are excited to work with me or connect with me, they love that too. So to me, that is just the ultimate compliment, and clearly why we became Instagram friends, one of the reasons. So it's one of those things that it's not a marketing ploy for me in the sense that I love to be in beautiful spaces. I love fashion. I love vintage shopping. It's just a part of my life. However, it is strategic and intentional in that I have always on social media tried to go above and beyond just sharing simple business messages and really kind of share who I am and things that are important to me. And honestly, things that have made a really big difference in my life and in my business. I talk about this concept called merch my life, which is
yeah.
something that I came up with. Yeah, when we moved to Mexico City. And really, what it means is I decided to get laser focused, intentional about ensuring that everything in our apartment, every time I looked around, every corner, was beautiful and inspiring. And so I'm not just talking about like furniture, like that's an obvious thing to do, furniture, decor, all of that. It's amazing. I am someone who just works more, makes more money if I'm in a space that I really love. But I decided to take it further and really think about like, how do people merchandise a store? How do they create an experience so that when you walk in, you're basically like, oh my God, I don't ever want to leave. Take all my money. This is the most amazing space I've ever been in. I wanted to have those feelings in my home. And so I did things like researched aesthetic sponges on Amazon. Like, why are all sponges like orange and purple? Like, I don't want to look at that shit in my kitchen. And so that really kind of evolved from that whole idea. And I have fun talking about this stuff on social media. There are a lot of people in business in my space that don't ever do that, and they make millions of dollars. And so this isn't something that you have to do, but for me, it's just made showing up on social media, showing up online so much more fun.
Would you credit any of like just truly being you, obviously, like that's like your obsession, that's like who you are on the inside, or
Yeah.
would you credit obtaining clients or growing your following or your business to just being that authentic you?
Yeah. I mean, look, I've never had anyone hire me and say, I hired you because like I love your cool sponges. But but as I was saying before, the women that I tend to attract into my world are similar to me. They love the aesthetics too. They love to march the beat of their own drum. They got some controversial opinions about stuff, and that all kind of comes along with it as well. So to me, there is absolutely no downside to running your business in this way. It's been incredibly successful for me. And I should point out to you, when I was an interior designer, I had no interior design training. I did not go to school for that. I never worked for an interior designer or worked in an interior design firm. I built my entire business on Instagram and with my own chutzpah and deciding to just go for it and learn along the way. So, yeah, I mean, I really do credit that piece of my personal brand and online personality with connecting me with all of my dreamiest clients and making lots of money. I mean, I genuinely do.
I love that we can talk about making lots of money because let's be real, we're all in business for a reason. We all
Yes.
have these hopes and dreams. And I'm about to go to this like million CEO, you call it the CEO millionaire version of you,
Yes.
right? Did I say that right? Um, and the whole reason like we start these businesses is to make money so we can live out our dreams, whatever they are for each person.
Yeah.
Let's jump into before we get to the tactical stuff because I definitely
Got it.
want to pick your brain there. Let's talk about this CEO millionaire version of you and like truly embodying it. Can you talk to that concept?
Yeah. So even though I call myself a business and strategy coach, I love me some mindset hacks and tricks. And I really do think that I say a lot, your brain is a dick. That's kind of my catchphrase. And really, what that means is I have had so much success in building my business since I started working on wrangling my dick brain. And so I always just kind of love to share the things that are working for me and helping to like describe them and talk about them in a way that's more accessible for people. And so that's what I ended up doing with this concept of CEO Millionaire You. It's basically for anyone that has like dipped their toes into the world of spirituality and mindset work, it's like manifestation 101. It's showing up as if. But rather than going into and explaining all of those concepts, I like to talk about it from this perspective of women as business owners stepping into this higher level version of themselves, this CEO millionaire version of themselves. Doesn't matter how much money is in your bank account right now. Doesn't matter if you started your business yesterday. You showing up as that version of yourself is going to catapult you to levels of success and money making that maybe you would have reached on your own, but I swear to you, you will get there so much quicker and you will have so much more fun doing it if you can start tapping into this higher level version of yourself. So for me, I call that CEO millionaire Erica. I really encourage anyone to play around with this idea. Interestingly, I'm putting out a program called CEO Millionaire You that really teaches you exactly what to do, and it teaches you how to step into this version of yourself. Because the truth of the matter is, this will be incredibly impactful for your business, but more than that, it will be incredibly impactful on your life. And so there's many different pieces to it. It's not like do one thing and then you're kind of tapping into this energy. It's really showing up as if you are this version of yourself right now. The one quick tip I will give to anyone who kind of wants to dip their toes into this is if there's something that's going on in your business right now that's bothering you or challenging you, or you need to deal with or make a decision around, and you're spinning out a little bit in your head, I want you to just ask yourself this simple question. What would the CEO millionaire version of me think about all of this? And so, for example, it could be maybe you're doing a masterclass. You wanted 50 people to sign up and 20 people signed up. And we have all been there. We've all felt disappointment like that. We've all assigned ridiculous meaning to things like that we could spend days spinning out on in our heads and, taking this to the nth degree. Well, this means this, and my business is in the garbage, and what am I doing? Like, our brains are dicks, so it's very easy to do that. But if you can just snap yourself out of it and say, what would the CEO millionaire version of me think of this? Because in that case, the CEO millionaire version of me would not give a shit. She'd be on to the next thing. She's playing the long game, and she doesn't care that like 30 extra people that she thought were going to be at her masterclass are not going to be there. She is still going to show up and do the best job, bring all of the value, and have a great time for the 20 people who are there. And then she's going to go off and figure something else out. And yeah, maybe the next time you do this, look at your marketing or try an ad or do different things. She's not spinning out for 7 days, like from bed with a tub of ice cream. She doesn't care.
Yeah, move on. Amen. All right. I love that. Real quick before I ask my next question, would you describe that gorgeous Paris trip you just went on? It was like beyond beautiful, so fun to follow. Would you describe that as an example of stepping into that CEO millionaire? I mean, you see like the finest of establishments, like.
Yes, I planned that whole trip as CEO millionaire me. And the thing about this concept is oftentimes people think like, oh, does this just mean I have to go spend a lot of money on stuff? No, I mean, that can be a piece of it. But for example, with this trip, there were so many things. I really intentionally wanted to choose my outfits every day because I wanted to be on this trip and just, again, from the moment I woke up until the moment I went to sleep, feel my best and show up as a version of myself out into the world that I was proud of and inspired by. So I really spent a lot of time choosing my outfits. I decided, my husband and I had never been to Paris together, but we had both been separately. I had been to every single tourist attraction there. And I didn't want to plan a trip where we were just going back and doing all the things that we did, because that's what you're supposed to do when you take a trip like that. So instead, I planned an entire trip around the things I wanted to do. Amazing restaurants, amazing shopping, cool experiences. And I didn't have to pack every single day with the standard tourist attraction. There's nothing wrong with going to see them. And if I had never been there, I probably would have spent more time on that. But, we forget sometimes that we're allowed to plan trips to touristy places like Paris. And if we want to stay in the hotel the whole time, or if we just want to shop the whole time, you're allowed to do that. And like this whole idea that like people are going to be judging us or feeling a certain way about us, like who cares? I did choose a very expensive hotel that we ended up staying in, the Hotel de Crillon, which, oh my God, even if you don't stay there, go and have a drink there. They have an incredible bar. And that was funny too, because this brings up something else for me that I find a little frustrating and a little sad, which is when I was on this trip, I heard from probably 10 different women who asked me if I was going to be like purchasing a luxury bag while I was there. Now, there's a lot behind that. It's way cheaper if you are going to get a luxury bag, go do it in Europe. It's way cheaper than doing it here. So, like, that's a smart financial decision. But it made me realize that for a lot of women, that's kind of the one and only way they can think about like living this life of luxury for themselves, because like that's what society tells us that we should do, is like buy luxury bags and sometimes jewelry or shoes. There is nothing wrong with that. I have some bags like that. I enjoy that too. But it really made me think about and feel a little bit sad that like that was kind of the standard thing that we go to as women when we think about treating ourselves or doing something special. And what I said to each of those women who reached out to me, and we had like a great conversation, they really were the ones who got me thinking about this. But essentially, by choosing the hotel that we did, for example, I bought myself a luxury bag every single day by choosing to stay in that hotel.
Right.
I spent more on, one night in that hotel than I might have at Louis Vuitton if I went to go get myself a luxury bag. So I just think too, it's like, this is one of the reasons I talk about money, is I want us as women to push ourselves to think bigger and to allow ourselves to want the freaking things that we want and just kind of go for it without feeling the pressure of like, well, I mean, this is something too. Look, I donate money. I love animals. I know we both share a love of dogs. But I feel like too, sometimes when women talk about like, I want to make a lot of money, they can't do it without throwing in a chaser of, and I want to donate a lot too. Like, I don't know. For me, that's like a baseline. Like if you're a good person and you're making lots of money, you're likely donating lots of money too. So it just feels like one of those things that, again, is in our way as women, like in a sense, it's just like this other thing that feels limiting, or you can't really talk about like wanting the things that you want because people are going to be judging you. So there's a lot there.
A lot
But
there.
yeah.
I like to say like own what you want and make it what you want and not what like society wants you to have. Like that would be my biggest wish, is like you have this business to fill your dreams, your desires, and not what like society puts you on. Like
Exactly.
I have zero desire for a fancy luxury bag, but like I want the best boat on my dang lake, Like just do you, right? I love that.
Yeah.
Can we jump into some tactics? So obviously to live like the CEO millionaire you who went to Paris in like
Yeah.
the fanciest and most bougie hotel, or to have the lifestyle you want, it costs money. Can we talk about some of the strategies that you would credit like running your profitable business to? Like why is your business like personally successful for you? Like what's that like?
Yeah. Well, so this first strategy is maybe going to feel a little annoying for people because it's not like 1, 2, 3, do this. But honestly, what I have found in my business is that when I am really tapped into selling things and talking about things that I am so freaking crazy in love with, I just want to tell everybody about them. I think they are so cool. All of the pieces of my offers feel really fun to execute. Like that's when I'm making the most money. And I think, unfortunately, and this tends to happen, and it happened to me too, when you're beginning, it just can feel like I should just do what everyone else is doing because it's really working for them. So I've never done this before. I have no idea how to put together a coaching offer or a service package for my design services. I'm just going to copy everyone else. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's something that every new business owner goes through at one point or another. But when I finally got to the point that I realized, and this is very much a part of my personality. Like as soon as everyone's doing something, I want to do something else. I wore a like pink and white striped wedding dress. Everyone was wearing white strapless wedding dresses. Nothing wrong with those, but I just like to do things my own way. And it's funny because I also tend to attract people like that into my world. But once I just tapped into this idea that I literally can make up an agency. Like I can create the whole framework of this thing. I have no examples of anyone ever doing this. I have no idea how I'm going to put this together. This is going to be really hard. I have to decide what this whole thing looks like, but I'm allowed to do that. And the process of doing that and the brainstorming around it and the planning of it and the creation of a new brand and the planning of a photo shoot, all of that stuff to me is like heroin. Like it's just so much fun for me to do. And so it took me a little while to realize that. It took me a while to, try different things and see, oh, I really like this. I don't like that so much. And I really think more of us need to be looking at our business as just a big fun experiment because that's the only way to do it. You can think about something in your head for ages and then you execute the thing and maybe you don't like it so much. And that can feel really overwhelming and that can feel really scary. But if you're looking at your business from this perspective of this is a big experiment, I have to fail. Failing is mandatory in order for me to get to this empire status. So anytime something goes wrong or I don't make as much as I think, or people aren't as excited about a program that I put out there, I'm happy. I'm like, okay, let me check off another failure box. I got a whole list of them here that I have to check off. So we got another one under our belt. Let's keep going.
I love that. So I think it's really just stepping in and like having fun. And when you have fun, you're attracting people who want to be in that energy. Is that a fair way to like
Yeah.
guys like just
Yeah.
freaking have fun and experiment? Uh,
Yeah.
are you willing to talk about a couple of those like failures where you're like, hey, this didn't work, so we had to pivot and try something else? Do you have
Yeah.
examples you could
Yeah. I
share?
mean, I have a lot of examples, but I'll talk about when I first started my coaching business. I decided I was going to offer up 10 one-on-one coaching spots. And in my mind, I thought, like, I had come from this, I was an interior designer at that point, but like back in my corporate days, I was working 40, 50, 60 hours a week at a job that I freaking hated with people that I hated doing things that I hated every single day. So in my mind, I'm thinking like 10 one-on-one clients, that's like 10 hours a week. Like that sounds freaking dreamy. I got super lucky and actually had 13 people sign up. But I still in my mind was thinking like, oh my God, this is incredible. But what I quickly realized is working with someone one-on-one is not simply that like 1 hour that you are on Zoom together.
Oh,
So much more than that. It is the time in between. It is time on Voxer, which was another app that I was using to kind of stay in touch with them. Even in that hour, there is an emotional exchange of energy that is so different than just, writing an email for an hour,
it's
or
exhausting.
it's exhausting. And so 13 one-on-one clients, even though it seemed like a success and I was making more money than I thought I ever could, I just really quickly realized like, oh shit, I can't do this. And so I had this moment of like, okay, this thing was really successful, but I don't really want to do this again. Like as soon as my time was up with these 13 clients, I'm like, well, I guess I just sell time again with one-on-one clients. And it really kind of took that experience. Because again, in my head, this was the dreamiest thing I could have ever imagined. But when it was actually time to execute it, it didn't quite work out. So yeah, that was a really great lesson. But yeah, I've had failed launches. I've tried programs that like sounded like a really good idea and then I executed them and it was like, I don't know. I don't think I want to do that again. So I have had many, many failures in my business and I look forward to having many more.
Yeah, that's like the catapult to getting to the next level. Here's one of my favorite questions to ask people. If you had to get to where you are today, or even like where you're going tomorrow, because
Yeah.
we're still climbing, right?
Yeah.
How would you do it in half the time? So like if you had to get to like where you are in your business today and where you're growing, if you
Yeah.
cut that time in half, what would you do?
Honestly, I probably from the very beginning would find myself a kick ass mindset coach and a kick ass business coach. I have definitely always been the type that, I love that phrase, like, get yourself in the room. That to me has been so incredibly meaningful when I've really leaned into that. And, again, I think it's so hard in the beginning, especially to figure out, like, what should I invest in? What makes sense? Maybe I'll try and do this myself for a while. But investing in general in help, I would say, like, yes, the business coach, yes, the mindset coach, also like a VA from the beginning.
Yes.
Because I think it's something else, like we always think like, oh, I can do this, I can do that. And the interesting thing is, like, the people that we work with at the Icon Agency, these are women that are 1 billion% capable of figuring out how to do all the shit we're doing for them. That's not the problem. They don't want to do it. They want to get focused and spend their time on the things in their business that are really fun for them and that light them up. So, taking a copywriting course or something, like, they do it and they probably do a pretty killer job at writing their own copy. But they're at a point where they realize, like, I don't want to do everything in my business. That doesn't feel fun for me anymore. And so I think in general, getting help from the beginning would have had a gigantic impact for me.
Yeah. I love that. It just like creates the leap. And I'm such a big
Yeah.
believer of like your network is your net worth.
Yes.
And that in the beginning can be free. Like whoever you're consuming is so important. But also who you like pay to get in the room with. And I am not above paying to be in the room with
No.
inspiring people.
Yeah. I
Awesome.
mean, even like, again, yes, it involves money, but like 20 years ago, like, this was not a possibility. Like, there are services now. I forget, I saw one the other day where you literally can talk to people, not quite like Sarah Blakely, but kind of at that level where you could pay to have a 30-minute conversation with someone that has created a multi-billion-dollar company. Like, huh? That is
Mind blowing.
unbelievable. Yeah.
I love it. At Empower to Profit, we are obsessed with like helping our clients live out their specific dream, not society's dream, and how we hit on. What's like next for you? What's that big, scary dream goal thing? Like,
Yeah.
where are we going?
There's like two big things that are front and center for me right now. One is really growing our real estate Airbnb portfolio. I always joke, like, I can't really say portfolio when we have one property, but like, I'm thinking future focused things. So I'm building a portfolio. And to me, it just feels, in the beginning when I was having this thought, I was thinking a lot about like, what are the cities we should invest in and what are the best opportunities? And I think I reached a point where my husband and I just decided, like, we want to have dope places in all of the different parts of the world that we want to be in. And whether or not I can make the maximum profit from that particular property, I don't care about as much as, is this a place we want to be? So, for example, we're thinking now about potentially kind of near you, like upstate New York or Connecticut, something that's like within a couple of hours of New York City, where we lived for many, many years. And the idea of having like an East Coast base feels really fun for us. The Airbnb laws in New York City are impossible. So yeah, and it's very expensive to buy a place there, but we're having a lot of fun playing with that idea. And even maybe Europe, and maybe we're going on a trip actually in a week to some spots we've never been to before: Charleston, Asheville, North Carolina, and Nashville, Tennessee.
Gonna love it.
I can't wait.
Charleston is like my favorite.
Yeah. So that's a big piece of it. And I'm even getting excited more and more. I talked about getting myself in the room. And so my husband Greg and I have invested in some real estate conferences and short-term rental conferences and things like that. And the thing that I thought was the biggest barrier in our way is like not having $1 million in the bank to invest. And the interesting thing that I've realized is there's so many people out there who are excited to partner with people like us. Like, I got my interior design skills. I'm going to turn this place into the dopest space you've ever seen. We've got our branding and marketing skills and social media. So I got all that at my fingertips. Now we have an agency of people literally sitting by, like waiting to help us with whatever project we do. And Greg has managed our Airbnb property in Los Angeles for 5+ years. We've been super hosts since the moment we could qualify. There are a lot of people out there with money who want to get into this game and don't have any of those other skills. And so that's even been something, since I've gotten myself in the room that I've learned about. And I'm excited to kind of explore it a little bit more. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I have a dream of creating a product line of chains for people's glasses. I'm not wearing my glasses right now,
Your
but
green ones are my favorite. I just had to put it out there. You had a poll, and I was like, why is she
yes,
not buying them? And then I think you
yes.
went and bought them. Those are my fave.
Thank you. Yeah, I got those in Paris. But I have loved glasses chains since, like, they've kind of become a little trendy over the past few years. I have been wearing them for like 10 years. I've always been, my mom even said to me, like, even from the time I was a kid, I just had that like older, mature grandma energy, which like I'm fine with and happy to step into. And so I have an idea for a product line that, I really have gotten in there. I have 3 different categories of chains, how I want to do it. I'm like researching places in China. However, also, I don't really have a solid idea of how to make this happen. So, it's one of those things that I'm having so much fun thinking about and so much fun planning and scheming. And I'm trying to honor that and also think about, like, if this has been an idea that's floating around in my head for several years now, what do I need to do in order to set myself up for success and potentially make it happen? So my next step is I'm setting up some time with someone who, specifically works with people like me and can help you put your entire product line together from start to finish, just to get an idea, like, how much is this going to cost? What's involved? Who can potentially fulfill orders? What might that look like? So those are the 2 things
I
front and center.
love it. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to see that come to market. It'll be
Yeah.
like gorgeous, aesthetic, and you. I can already picture it.
Thank you.
I want to thank you so, so much for hanging out with us today. I just love your stories. I find you inspiring. I love that you are just like unapologetically like you. I know when your stories come up on my bubble, don't watch them in front of my children. Walk
Yes.
away. You might get a cute dog picture. As we know, I'm the crazy dog lady.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for taking time here. Besides Instagram, because I'm going to link that everywhere, where else should people follow you? How can they get on your aesthetic newsletter? Like, give
Yeah.
me the details.
Yeah. Well, TikTok is a place that I'm having lots of fun hanging out. So, and it's my same handle. It's my first name, last name, EricaReitman. And we just put out, I think, a really fun resource that goes back to the CEO Millionaire You idea. A really fun way that I kind of first embodied this idea when I was playing with it and getting used to it was planning CEO Millionaire dates for myself. And so we put out a resource recently that teaches you how to plan your own CEO Millionaire date and gives you tons of ideas and what it might look like and all sorts of suggestions. So that's totally free. And it's, I think, a super fun resource for anyone who kind of wants to dive into that CEO Millionaire world.
I will grab that link and we will link it everywhere.
Thank
Along
you.
with your socials. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. What a fun, like, inspiring episode.
I had a blast. I really did. Thanks for having me.